Hello, everyone. My name's Amy Duncan. I'm from TriTel Networks, and I'm going to be doing a training for you today on the T42S on our Cloudnow service. Everyone should have a user sheet that looks like this. If you don't have that, feel free to send an email to customerservice@tritel.com, and we'll get one sent out to you. I'm going to go ahead and change my camera to the rear camera, and we'll start talking about the phones. All right, so the very first thing I wanted to tell you is that we do have two different kinds of buttons on the display of the phone. We've got buttons along the bottom and buttons along either side. Now, the buttons along the bottom of the phone are what we call soft keys. We call them that because their function changes based on what you're doing. So right now I have a history button, a directory, a do not disturb, and a menu. But once we get on a telephone call here, you're going to see that those buttons change to transfer, conference, hold, etc. So you're just going to be looking right above that button for whatever its function is. Now, the buttons that are down the sides of the screen are buttons that we have pre-programmed to do specific functions. The one that I will point out to you right now is the very bottom key on the right-hand side. It says 1, 2, 3 next to it, possibly 1, 2 next to it, depending on how many things you've got programmed there. I am now on page number 1 of my screen since the 1 is dark. If I press that button, then I move over to page number 2 where I have some additional keys and page number 3. Again, some of you may just have pages 1 and 2, but you do have actually 3 screens that you can scroll in between. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and start going down the feature sheet. So first thing on the list is volume control. The volume control is the slider bar that's here across the bottom. You can use it to change your ringer volume if the phone is idle, your handset volume if you're on the handset, and your speakerphone volume if you're on the speakerphone. It is a touch, 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 rather than a press and hold. All right. Let's talk about placing a call. When we go to make a call out, we do not need to dial 9. We also do not need to dial a 1. It's very similar to the way your cell phone works, where you just dial the 10-digit telephone number, and then you will press a send key afterwards, or like your green button on the cell phone. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll dial in a telephone number. Now I see the word send up in my display, as well as the pound key is send. So I would just send that call and it will place it out. Okay. The redial history button. So redial is here. History is here in the display when my phone is idle. The difference between those two is when I press the redial button, it takes me directly to my placed calls, any calls that I've made. It does keep 100 numbers in here. If I use the history button, it takes me to all calls first. So I get to see both placed calls, received calls, missed calls, all of those things. When you want to use any of those, if I wanted to call a number back, I would just use my navigation keypad here, scroll down to a number, and then I can press send again, either in the display or the pound key to place that call out. Now, I may want to see some more information about that call. Maybe I want to see the both name and number on that. If I press the OK button, that will pull in. If we had a name in there, it would show that, as well as the number, the date and time, and the duration of that call. You do notice I still have the send key here, and of course the pound key that I could then place to place that call out. And that function works whether you're in the history or in redial. Speakerphone. So the speakerphone key is here, megaphone looking thing. If you want to make a call out on the speakerphone, you don't need to press the speaker key. As soon as I start to dial digits, it automatically goes to the speakerphone for me. If I have the handset up and I want to put the call on speakerphone, I just press that speaker key and put the handset down, and I'm now on speakerphone. Answer, who, that's a toughie. When a call comes in, it's presented with the date and time, caller ID on the screen, and all you need to do is just pick up the handset to answer or press the speakerphone button. Mute is the next thing on the list. The mute key is here. It's a microphone with a line through it. It does light up when you mute. One warning I'll give you is that it does just mute the handset and the speakerphone. If you're using a headset on this phone, you're going to want to use a mute key that is specific to that. Remember that mute is you can hear them, they cannot hear you. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about hold. So we'll place a call here. Okay, so now we've got a call on the phone. And just like I told you at the beginning of this training, you notice that these keys up on top are going to change to transfer, hold, conference, and end call. So if I were to put a call on hold, I would just use this hold key, press the hold key. Now that key becomes resume. There is music on hold by default in this system. And so your caller will hear music on hold when they are on hold. We can just hit resume to go ahead and resume that call. One thing I will tell you is that hold is a personal parameter. So if I put a call on hold on my phone, I would not expect to see that held call on someone else's phone. If I want to do a system-wide hold, instead of putting the call on hold, I'm going to put the call on park. And we're going to get down to parking calls in just a little bit. So again, here I have this call on the phone and I want to transfer the call. That's the next thing on the list, is to transfer the call. So if I want to transfer the call to someone outside of the office, someone that I don't already have one of these pre-programmed buttons for, I can go ahead and use the transfer key here, press transfer, dial the telephone number that I want to transfer to, and then press transfer to complete that. If I want to transfer the call to someone that I do have a button for, so we'll just scoot over to the second page where my Amy button is. If I want to transfer that call to the Amy phone, all I need to do is just press the button. It will then notify the other phone. Once that person picks up, we're just having a conversation extension to extension now. Our caller is on hold and they can't actually hear anything that we're saying. Once I'm ready to actually end that call, I'll just press the transfer key again, and now the call is transferred to the other extension. If you don't want to wait for that other person to answer, you definitely don't have to. You can press that transfer key right as soon as you push the person's button, and it will transfer right away. You did notice that I moved between my screens, page 1 and page 2, while I was on the call. That doesn't disturb my call at all. Transferring to voicemail is the next thing on the sheet. If you are going to transfer a call into voicemail, you're going to press the transfer soft key, dial the digit 8, which has the V on it for voicemail, and then you can use the person's button or dial in their extension and press transfer to complete that call. Very, very easy there. Conference calls. To make a conference call, let's go ahead and use the redial key to place a call out. So we want to call my cell phone number, so I'm going to scooch down to my cell phone and I'm going to just press the send key to make that call. Okay. We've got the one call on the phone. We're going to go ahead and press the conference key here in the display and make our second call. Send.
Thank you for calling.
Okay.
Press 1 to be transferred to the result of voicemail. Press 3.
So I have a second call on the phone now. I'm going to join that in with the first call. Remember, the entire time until I press that conference key a second time, my caller, my first caller, cannot hear what's going on. So I can set up the conference call with the second person I'm trying to add and give them any information that I need without that first person hearing. Once I press the conference, again, now we're all together. So you can see I do have 2 lights on both line keys for both people that I have in my conference. All right, the next thing on the list is pickup. Some of you may or may not have a pickup button on your phone. A pickup button would be programmed as one of these keys here. If you have a pickup button on your phone, you would press pickup and dial the extension number that you wanted to pick up, and that will answer any ringing call on that extension. So let's go ahead and talk about park now. So we can just call this number back.
Thank you for calling. Press 1 to be transferred.
All right, so we've got our call on the phone, and I want to park that call. Now, what park is it's a system-wide hold. So we talked about using the regular hold key as a personal hold. If we want to do a system-wide hold, we're going to actually park that call. You have 2 park keys, a park 1 and a park 2 on all the phones. You can pick either one of them that is green and available. So if I press the park 1 button, now you see I've got a red flashing light on that park key, and it's flashing on every single telephone in the system. So you could go to any of the telephones, press that flashing red button, and you've got the call back. Really super easy. The very last button that I want to talk about is the page key. The page key is here on your screen. Excuse me, let me move my hand. Page is there on the screen. Depending on what your page groups are in your office, it will page through the telephones, potentially through overhead speakers as well. It is an announcement only page. You would not expect a response back. So you could make a page, hey, pizza's in the break room, and then expect everyone to come into the break room, not to actually respond to you. The last thing that's on the user sheet is call recording. Now, call recording is done in this system either by using the software, which is included in the system. If anybody wants to use the desktop software, we can definitely talk about getting that installed for you, or by putting a USB stick in the back of the phone. So all of these phones have a USB port in the back, and if you would like to do call recording, you can just stick that USB in the back there, and then when you get on a call, one of the choices is more, and so you press the more soft key, and then you get the option to record. It does record local to that USB stick. You can pull the stick out when you're done with your call, plug it into a computer, and be able to find that file and save it to your desktop or email it to someone or whatever. So that isn't an additional pay feature. It just comes with the system, but you do have to provide that USB stick. A couple of other housekeeping type items. The other buttons that are over here on the side that aren't on the user sheet, we talked about the mute key. This is a headset button. There is a headset jack on the back of the phone. Show you that. Okay, so the headset jack is here on the back of the phone. If you have a headset that you want to plug in, you can definitely do that. And then you would just turn headset mode on. Okay, next button down is an envelope. That's for your voicemail messages. The very first time you go into voicemail, you will just press that envelope. No password is required. It does, however, want to know what language you would like to set up your mailbox in. So it says, please select a language, and then it says, please select a language in Spanish. Then it says, English. If you would like English, you're going to press 1 at that point. Then it takes you through the rest of the tutorial. It will have you change your password, record a name, and decide if you want to record a greeting there. After you've set up your mailbox for the first time, when you have voicemail messages, this light up on top of the display will be lit and flashing, and you'll also have a little tape recorder icon there in the display to let you know you have voicemail messages. You just press the envelope key to retrieve those messages, and you will be required to enter a password at that point. Another button that I've been using throughout this training is the X key. That's the backup button or the hang up button. If I had the handset off the hook and I wanted to hang that up, I can just press the X and that will hang up my my call. So I could just make another call right after that. If I'm down inside of a menu and I want to back up, I can use that X key as well. That's pretty much everything. The base of the phone does have 3 separate positions. I guess that would be the last thing that I would tell you. So you can put that base in either of the 3 separate positions, depending on how you like to look at your phone. If you want it to be, you know, down a little lower or up a little higher, you can do that. But that is everything as far as this phone goes. So I appreciate your time today. If you have any questions, please email customerservice@tritel.com and we'll get you taken care of. Thanks so much. Have a nice day.